Hi, and welcome to Artisan Upholstery Studio. If you've ever tried to put nailhead trim on a chair or any project, you probably realized how frustrating it can be. So today I'm going to give you a few tips on how to get your studs nicely lined up and straight, and hopefully they'll work for you.
All right, so you want to start by laying your chair so that you're looking straight down on it, because that's going to be easier to hammer than if you had it upright and we're hammering it sideways. As you can see, this chair, the side is 17.5. That actually works out pretty well because each stud is about a half an inch. It's slightly smaller. I space them at a half an inch. So the first trick that I'm going to use here is to actually make little chalk lines. And you want a nice sharp edge for your chalk, so you can actually sharpen chalk with a pair of scissors. And get it nice and pointy. And then you can just mark every half an inch on the mark every half inch. And be as accurate as you possibly can. Okay. Now you actually do want a proper tack hammer for this. It'll save you a lot of agony rather than using a hammer with a bigger head. So now that I have all of my measurements marked off, I can now measure 1/4 of an inch up, and that's where the studs are going to be nailed in. And once you get the hang of where that 1/4 inch is, you don't have to measure every single one. If you think that you've got the hang of it, obviously I try not to actually hammer my finger, just the stud. But the studs themselves are obviously very round, so it's easy to pound them in the wrong place, and when you do that they tend to buckle and shift around, and then it's really hard to straighten them back out again. It's possible, but it's just trickier. So if you can hold them with your finger, see that one's in a hard place. The harder the wood is, the more they don't want to go in. So I'm going to leave that one to last because it wants to roll around on me. So I'll show you another trick for getting them to go in the way you want them to go in. So this one, which wants to wiggle around, I'm going to go back with my claw tool and just prevent it from slipping down as I'm hammering it in. Yeah, that worked well. That was easier than I thought. All right, so what I do is look at it from the side, make sure that they're all nice and even when I'm looking at it this way, and they are. They're actually pretty good. The only ones that I would maybe wiggle around are these ones here. It's a little bit too much or too little of a space between them there, too much here. So just try to even them out. And this one doesn't seem to be in as far as the others. So you just adjust them as you need to. All right, so the second trick I'm going to show you is to use a jig to place your studs. This jig was simply made using a piece of corrugated cardboard with a straight edge, measured 1/2 inch between these slits, and then 1/4 inch up from this edge here. And there are actually little snips in between them like this so that you can slide this out once you put the studs in. So I'm just going to place this on the edge of the chair, and then I'm still going to hold each stud, and then hammer it in, but not all the way, otherwise it'll be too hard to pull the cardboard away. I'm leaving the studs on the leg for last because the legs are quite a bit harder than the wood between them, so they tend to want to bend much easier. So I'm going to do those without the jig. So before you get too many done, you might want to test. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. Comes out easily. So you still have to pound them down all the way now, making sure that they don't move around on you, which they are apt to do. So finally, I'm going to show you how to readjust studs that have already been put in but have not been put in straight. We're going to correct these using our tack hammer and our claw device. So if they're up, you can tap them on the top to bring them down. If they're too low, you can tap them on the bottom to bring them up. And if you need to adjust them side to side, so here we have a little bit, it's too narrow in here and too far here, so just pry them apart with the claw device, and you can just scooch them to the side.
I hope you enjoyed this little upholstery tip. Thanks so much for watching.